Good afternoon, everybody. It's David Schlotthauer here in the home weather office with another detailed tropical weather outlook and discussion for Sunday, October the 15th, 2023. In today's update, we are still concerned about Invest 94L as it gets closer and closer to the Leeward and Windward Islands over the next 5 to 7 days. There is still a high chance for tropical development, and this could still become another named storm. To start things off, here's a look at the latest true color visible satellite imagery provided by Dr. Levi Cowan at tropicaltidbits.com, and we can see where our disturbance actually is right now. It is roughly located just north of 10 degrees in latitude by almost 40 degrees west in longitude. This is 94L, and it now has a 40-80% chance of tropical formation in the next week or so as this continues to move off towards the west. A close-in, zoomed-in view does reveal that Invest 94L does look more disorganized than it did at this time yesterday, and what I mean by more disorganized is that the convection is not really, it's not wrapping all the way around. It's more blobbier, it's more pulsating, and we're not seeing anything that there are signs that this is going to rapidly organize, where we have a lot of deep convection organizing in bands that tries to wrap all the way around where whatever circulation there is here. And it is very hard to make one out in today's video. We do have westerly or northerly winds here. We don't even have a closed circulation at all, with a very kind of tightly wound up, stretched area of vorticity. So it's really, really difficult for the models, including myself, to locate where this is exactly at right now. But the best estimate is that it's probably located somewhere over here where we have some of the more concentrated convection. Looking at the 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center, and as we can see, there is still a high chance for tropical formation on this system. Right now, as of 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time Sunday, October the 15th, 2023, a broad area of low pressure located several hundred miles southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands is producing some showers and thunderstorms. Again, some showers and thunderstorms, folks. This is not very organized. While this system is less organized since yesterday, the environmental overall conditions are forecast to become more conducive for development, and a tropical depression is likely to form around midweek while the system moves generally westward or to the west-northwest across the central and western tropical Atlantic. And right now, there is a medium chance in the next 2 days. This is lowered from 70% from yesterday, with it being 40% in the next 2, and then in the next week, that's 7 days, an 80% chance. So still on a high-end side of things, but even so, that was lowered by 10% from yesterday, from 90 to now 80%. Also, another thing to note is Sean is very weak right now. Winds at 30 miles an hour, pressures at 1,010 millibars, moving to the west-northwest at 10. Very, very quick update on this. You can see it is really going to disintegrate and degenerate probably in the next 24 or so hours, probably less than that. And at the moment, there is no threats to any land or any areas. Now, the most important part of this video is comparing and looking over all of the global computer models, including our 2 hurricane models that I like to look at. So this is going to be a pretty detailed video update on 94L, as you all liked in yesterday's video. So I do appreciate that. So we're going to start looking at the Euro first, then we're going to work our way down on the GFS, the Canadian, the NavGem, the Icon, the HWRF, and the HAVS-A. So we have a lot of models to actually look at. So looking at the Euro now, this is for this afternoon, and we can see where our system actually is here. The green shading is rainfall. So you can see where it's raining pretty good. And when we go forward in time, we can see where our system is going to be moving towards, of course, towards the islands. But wait, where is the system, you might ask? Where's a hurricane that we were all forecasting yesterday and the day before? Well, probably not going to develop now, but there's still that chance it might do something, at least into a named storm like Philippe that became a strong tropical storm. Probably see that here with Tammy when it gets named eventually, I still believe. We have deep layer ridging to the north, and this system is likely able to move generally west-northwestward towards these islands of the Virgin, British, as well as if you're in Puerto Rico. Just keep in mind you're going to have some pretty inclement weather. There's going to be a lot of rainfall out of this, and I want you all to just remember it only takes a tropical depression to bring pretty significant impacts. Flooding, storm surge, high surf. Well, not really storm surge, but you get the idea. Surf and freshwater flooding. So this arrives by Friday. So by Thursday and Friday, it gets to these islands of the Caribbean, and then it moves across portions of the northeastern Caribbean. You can see a little bit of deep convection here, lots of enhancement of thunderstorm activity by Sunday morning, October the 22nd. This is about day 7, and then this is day 8, and then this is almost day 9, where we do have that system moving northward. But wait, what about the GFS model? So looking at the GFS for this afternoon, October the 15th, we can see where our system is going forward in time. It tries to develop similar to the Euro model, where it really these two models really struggle with the system, and it gets close to the islands, but still the GFS is still our kind of our northerly and easterly outlier. So if we actually look at previous runs, it really is consistently showing that this is not going to hit the islands, but now it looks like it's going to be much weaker than what we first thought, likely because of the deep layer shear that's going to continue over the system, we think now, thanks to El Nino. Maybe El Nino is an influence with this system, and we got some drier air encroaching from the west. So after all, could this still get named? We shall find out. It's a little bit more uncertain now than what we thought yesterday and days prior, but still, either way, this could bring some impacts to the islands. This is Sunday, and by Monday next week, October the 23rd, it moves just to the north of the Virgin and British Virgin Islands, and then might get a little stronger eventually. We shall see. This is 10 days out for Wednesday, October the 25th, as a pretty robust tropical-like system. Maybe a subtropical or extratropical transition here eventually towards the end of the forecast period. The third model is the Canadian model, and I also want to show you all this because as we go through with time here, this is Tuesday afternoon and evening, October the 18th. This is October the 19th eventually with time, and then by Thursday the 19th we do see that the Canadian still thinks that this might develop pretty significantly into a tropical storm, and this would again be Tropical Storm Tammy on approach to the northern Leeward and Windward Islands. So over the British, we can see some intense rainfall, strong winds, maybe some coastal flooding impacts because of how strong the winds could be with this system. And eventually this kind of rounds off and gets very close to Bermuda within the next 7 to 8 days. This is October the 20th through the 22nd. So this is the second to last weekend of October that this could impact Bermuda according to the Canadian, the GEM model, as we have a really strong ridge of high pressure over here. And so that allows this system to kind of turn northward because we also have a trough that is over here. And so there's an alleyway of escape, and that escape route is right in here somewhere, is where most of the models take this. Looking at the GEM or the NAV GEM model, this is another model that I also rarely look at. So let's kind of play this through and see what this model actually shows. So as we go out to day 3, this is Wednesday morning, October the 18th. This is October the 19th on Thursday. It really goes crazy, goes Willy Wonka, 980 millibars. So this would be a strong tropical storm or a low-grade hurricane at this moment. This is a very aggressive, bullish model. Okay, October 21st, and this is Sunday, October the 22nd. My goodness, that is really strong, getting very close to Bermuda, which is located right there. You can't miss it. Bermuda's right there on the map, and this is at 965 millibars, which is really, really deep. That's a hurricane indeed as this kind of turns northward. But the same scenario applies, that somewhere in here, this is going to get really close or on top of these islands still. For some good reason, I should say this is very fortunate that a lot of these systems have been fish storms. Not everyone, but 98% of these have been basically out to sea, which is good. Hopefully, we could finish the season like that, right? Looking at the icon model now, let's look at this model. Our third to last model. And as we go forward in time, this also shows that it tries to develop. So in about 4 days, this is by Thursday, October the 19th, we can see where our system is on the icon. This is the German model, by the way, the Germany model. And this goes right over these islands of the British, including for Puerto Rico, with some pretty intense rainfall, flooding, and some high surf to be expected. But look at, everything is in common here. This tries to turn northward later on in the forecast period. You can see that bend because we have a ridge here. We have a trough up here. So there's a little bit of a tugging force on 94L at this time in the forecast period. There seems to be some more agreement that that will actually occur. So let's take a look at the H-Wharf model. This is now our hurricane models in specific sense. So let's play this through. So by the way, what you're looking at here is the moisture plot. This is in the deep layers, all the way from about 10,000 feet all the way up to 30,000 feet, or 700 millibars to 300 millibars. And the color shading that you're seeing is areas of dry air in brown and areas of moist air that is in green and dark teal colors. Okay, so kind of showing you where the moisture pocket is. And this model in particular doesn't show much development in the next 3 days. In fact, probably no development at all. This is going to be pretty broad and large in nature, and then eventually it tries to develop by day 5 as a pretty strong tropical storm or hurricane. You can even see that. Apparently, there does not look to be shear on this system, according to the H-Wharf model, but again, depending on how this is all initialized, how the models extrapolate the data, really vary a lot. Right now, though, this model, no shear at all, with the dry air remaining away from the system, as you see here. And by the end of the forecast period, this gets very strong at 960 millibars. The HAPS-A model that is similar really does not indicate much in the way of tropical formation by Thursday in about 4 days. On the approach to the islands, though, this could still bring quite a bit of rainfall, flooding problems, mudslides, debris flows, you name it. Even so, this may not become a tropical storm or even a depression. All it is could be a very strong tropical wave that could bring a lot of serious impacts. So I just want to make sure you all are aware of that when watching this video. Ooh, yummy, yummy, yummy in my tummy as we look at our yummy spaghetti plots here on the Euro for the next 5 days. You can see a lot of those members not really indicating much in the way of formation. In fact, there's only, let's see how many members we have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 members in this cluster that indicate that this could become a low-end tropical storm or a mid-grade tropical storm. But nevertheless, we're not seeing any hurricane-looking models at all like we had in yesterday's video. Wow, what a big difference. Let's go forward out in time here in the next 7 to 9 days, and you can see majority of the models are only indicating this to become a tropical storm. Only one outlier model, that's this member right over here, 951 millibars, could even become a major hurricane. That's only one member, folks. We cannot just rely on one member for an actual prediction. And the majority is calling this to be a fairly weak system. Nevertheless, probably only a tropical storm. Looking at the hurricane model spaghetti plot, and we can see very similar to most of the models that we've looked at so far in today's video on Invest 94L. Generally speaking, this is likely to gain latitude now more than what we thought to the west-northwest at about 5 to 15 miles an hour. And eventually this curvature could bring this really close to the islands before the turn to the north occurs beyond day 5, 6, and 7. But again, I do want to make it clear with you all that please do not use this map to make decisions. Please seek official info from the National Hurricane Center, your local officials, or the National Weather Service if you're on Puerto Rico, because this is still going to be fairly close to these islands, and it all depends on where the center reforms. We could still see some reformations if this reforms further north or further south. That could make a huge difference. In other words, moving at the same general heading. Right? If this forms further north, it can miss the islands entirely, versus if this forms further south, this could hit the islands more head on, and this could be a little stronger since it's further south. So I want to make that clear with you all when watching my video, that there's still some relocating with the center to go through, and we still do not know where exactly this is headed. But we know, generally speaking, it is headed towards the west-northwest. Its energy of envelope. Now, how strong could this system get, you may be wondering. So right now, we talked about how there's a huge ceiling spread on this in such a way. The weakest, the more outlier scenario is on the AVNI, which barely indicates that this could become a 40-mile-an-hour tropical storm, versus the HWFI and the HMNI want this to become a major hurricane. Therefore, due to the degradation to the system today, with some disorganization, with less of a probability of this becoming anything significant, my intensity forecast has been relowered, and right now I am well below most of the model guidance. Right now, forecasting a 60-mile-an-hour tropical storm at the very most at the moment. So, just to show you all, the black line right here is my intensity forecast. See that? You guys can't miss it at all. And I don't see much of intensification, at least for right now, until we can see more consistency among the global models and some of our hurricane models, which really explicitly do not show much in the way of strengthening. Looking at our super ensemble blend forecast from the Euro, from the GFS, the UK Met, and the Canadian, which is a CMC model, we can see that there is still quite a bit of members on our spaghetti plot here on our super blend, but where is the ensemble ellipse? There is that low of confidence, and therefore there is no ellipse in today's forecast than what it was like yesterday. In fact, only one deterministic model member indicates that this could actually develop enough. And in fact, I think these are pretty much all of the GFS model members. We don't even have much in the way of Euro ensemble members at all. So therefore, there is very low confidence. In fact, there is no chances like we had yesterday. You can see there's no blue colors over the islands, which means there is less than a 5% chance that this could actually make landfall or some impact on the islands of the Caribbean. The environmental forecast looks much less conducive than what we saw yesterday on the same forecast from the Statistical Hurricane Intensity Prediction System, or known as SHIPS for short. This is a look at 94L, and while it is noteworthy, or we need to make note of this, that the maximum potential intensity here is 165 knots. That's only if the atmosphere was super conducive, 100% pristinely conducive for explosive intensification. But what we got going on here is we got a lot of shear that is expected to now pick up, according to the ship's guidance. In fact, probably over 20 knots for the entire forecast period. So therefore, the chances of this becoming a hurricane now is a little less likely today, with the sea surface temperatures that don't look to be as warm as what we first thought, but still 29.5 to 30 Celsius is more than warm enough for explosive intensification. Only if our shear was very low and our moisture was very high. In fact, it gets below 60% within the next 4 to 6 days. And our upper ocean heat content is fairly robust. So let's put a check mark for things that do verify for strengthening. This looks good with a check mark. This looks good, and this looks good. But what we have here going on is shear doesn't look conducive, and the deep layer moisture doesn't look very conducive for further development with the system. So it's kind of a 2 and 3-1 pitch score here on exactly how this is going to all evolve in the next 7 days. Well, anyways, that is going to sum it up for today's detailed outlook and discussion on Invest 94L, as this is still a threat to the Leeward and Windward Islands. As long as this remains a imminent threat to the islands with chances that are this high, I will still be making daily uploads and updates on this disturbance. Okay, so I want to make that clear with you all. But tomorrow's update will be released much later. I actually have work early in the day, so therefore my next video probably won't be out until about 6 or almost 7 o'clock. Hopefully earlier than that. I'll shoot for an earlier update, but I'll try my best at making you or uploading either way, regardless of how this looks for tomorrow. But if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button, and sharing this video with your family and friends on social media. And one thing to note, if you haven't hit the bell notification icon yet, please consider doing so. You guys are really awesome, and I really want to thank you all for watching yesterday's video, because you guys love it a lot, and I'm sure you all will love this update too. Please leave a comment though if you did enjoy it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll be back with you more tomorrow with another detailed update on this disturbance.